Hi everyone, welcome to another live stream with me, Matt, from drawingtutorialsonline.com. Today's going to be a really fun class. Let me know how the sound is. Well, yeah. Sorry, my bad. Okay, I'll check the sound myself also. Sound works. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining me here today on YouTube. I really do appreciate it. Today's class is going to be super duper fun, and I'm really looking forward to it. What is today's class all about? Well, today's class is about drawing a Michelangelo. Omar 911 had requested this. And yeah, so this is totally viewer requested. And so what am I going to do exactly? So what I'm going to do first for you here on YouTube is I'm going to first bring you into Photoshop, and I want to draw just with a couple of lines on top of the Michelangelo to show you what I'm talking about. And then what we'll do is we'll do a little study of part of the Michelangelo drawing. And then we have pretty good photo reference. Welcome, Pepperly. 75, and we have pretty good photo reference, and I want to try to apply the way that Michelangelo drew to the photo reference that we're going to use together. Okay, so awesome sauce. Now, I guess let's get started. I don't want to waste your time. And I thank you all for joining. If you want to say a quick hello in the chat, that would be pretty cool. Okie dokie. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to get right to it. I don't know how long this live stream is going to go today, but it's certainly not going to go for 3 hours. I don't know. Last week I just had like so much energy. It was a ton of fun, and thank you all for watching. So let me share my screen here, and first let me do one thing. Let me just click on Photoshop, and then let me go to my software, and now let me share my, oops, no, I don't want to do that. I want to go back to this. 1 second. Better. Okie dokie. So what we've got here is this drawing now. Okay, listen. 1 second. You could also check this out. Here's the drawing. I'm back here. Yep. If you search for this Michelangelo drawing, Sibyl, studies for the Libyan Sibyl and a small sketch for a seated figure. You can find this drawing and all of the details of the drawing at the metmuseum.org/art/collection/search, and then 337497. I've got a link to it on my blog. If you head on over to drawing-tutorials-online blog, there should be a link below. I've got the photo reference and the link there for you. Okay, now what I love about this page is the Met zooms in to these images, and you can really get a beautiful sense of all of this. I love the texture of the paper, and you know, this drawing is old, and I'm sure it's faded a little bit over the years. I think this was the back of the paper, which was really cool because I'm sure paper was in limited supply back in the day, so they used every square inch of it. And there's some really good studies here. Okay, let me not bore you to death with that. Now, yes, okay, let's go back to Photoshop. And now, let me just look at that chat one more time, and then I'm going to start to getting into the nitty-gritty of today's class. Almost there. Pepperly, Outdoor Spaces, Landscape Design and Build LLC. Hello, Outdoor Spaces. Welcome. Okie dokie. So what are the things here that are really cool about Michelangelo's artwork? Okay, what are the things that we could use in our own artwork that we see here? Well, for me, and I'm going to show you what to do, and I'm going to show you what most people do. I'm talking about like people who, like, when I see them in my class the first day, right? They're a little nervous, they're a little unsure, they haven't taken a drawing class before. I want to just use that example. No judgment, it is what it is. If I showed you my sketchbooks from when I was in college, they're horrendous, but you've got to start somewhere, right? Now, the number one thing that Michelangelo does that I just absolutely love is let me get a brush here. That's an okay brush. Let me go a little bit bigger for you. That number one thing is rolling the edge line into and around the form of the body. For instance, over here at the shoulder, we have, I'm all the way, let me use this brush because it's a little bit heavier. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to switch over to another brush that I really like to use, which is this one, because I zoomed in and it's pretty pixelated right now. So basically, Michelangelo does this thing where he rolls his edge line in and around form. In my classroom, I like to call that convex line, okay? And we'll talk about concave in a moment. But look, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. So we've got the deltoid. The deltoid rolls in at the muscle separation. We've got the bicep. The bicep rolls into the form. Okay, we've got this part of the clavicle that attaches to the scapula, the acromion of the scapula, that rolls into the form. And take note, every single line, when it rolls in, it gradually disappears and it also curves. Every line is curved. Now, what do I say over and over and over again when I teach ad nauseum? There's no such thing as a straight line on the human body. And that's true. Now, let's say you get to a life drawing class, you show up late, there's no more good seats left, and there you are. You're sitting in the back, you're looking at the model's like 30 feet away from you, the model's leg will look straight. Okay, now let me do one thing here. Let me go back to my software and let me just move me over here. Okay, cool. There you go. Back to Photoshop. We're gonna draw people. Hang in there. So that is the number one thing that you want to pull from today's class. And these lines are everywhere. So the wrong way to draw the upper arm would be, oh, here's the shoulder, now here's the elbow, here's the bicep, here's the shoulder, here's the other side of the arm, here's the elbow, and then there's the other arm. So what did I just do there? There's absolutely no convex lines that are rolling into the form. And I kind of used the straight line, and I pinched it at the break of the arm, and I've got a really right angle kind of elbow. All of this is what you do not want to do when you are drawing the human body. Okay, Matt, got you. What's the next thing? Well, the next thing is what I like to call micro angles. A different way for me to say micro angles is that Michelangelo uses an extremely complicated edge. What are these micro angles? So I see an angle here, 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 another one, another one, another micro angle, another micro angle, another one, another one. Here's one that's level, tilted down, tilted in. So how many do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 micro angles. Not a straight line. Not a subtly curved straight line like that. Now, if you ask yourself the question, I'm presuming that the people watching here on YouTube, let me go back to YouTube for a second and see if there's anybody has any questions so far. Steve, yes, I know you, Steve. I know you. I need to take care of a billing thing for you. You need to email me that and just remind me of that detail about the email and whose email it was and all that jazz, and I'll help you with that. Okay, so back to Photoshop. Now, okay, so we talked about line that rolls in. Oops, not rules in, Matt, rolls in. We talked about micro angles. Another way to say that is a complicated edge. Okay. Now, you don't want to draw with these straight lines on the micro angles. You want to see them with your eyes, but you want to draw with like a curvy line. Now, the other thing that Michelangelo is just so good at is understanding form, and all of these lines roll around what? Ovals. Three-dimensional ovals. Okay, what am I talking about? Okay, cool. So this, let me get a new layer here. This deltoid is pretty much an oval, and that line is rolling around. The bicep is definitely an oval, and that line is rolling around the oval. This forearm grouping of muscles over here is an oval, and that line is wrapping around the oval. This lat muscle area over here is another oval, and this line is rolling around that oval. So these ovals are 3D, and all of these lines are wrapping around the ovals. Now, there's a couple of things here for you to think about. Number one, if you draw all these ovals on your figure drawing, it's going to look horrendous. So you're just seeing the ovals with your eyes, and you are not outlining these ovals. Number two, this person was an assistant in the studio for Michelangelo. This person looks like they had 3 to 4% body fat on their body. You're going to see this in a well-lit figure who has no fat on their body. And so that's the caveat here today. You're seeing all of this anatomy, all of these muscles, all of these bones, and it's easier to see some of this if the figure's body is lit properly. Now, the other thing that we see when we look at, I'm going to switch to a different drawing. And let me go here. The other thing that we see when we look at the Michelangelo is that the shading lines roll around as well. They're very diverse, and we're going to talk about here in a second. Now, look, this is a linear study of the model's shoulder. Same shoulder, just a linear study, not shaded. Look at how these lines are wrapping around the form, and it's pretty cool. This is what you need to do. See the deltoid? The posterior head of the deltoid rolls in, and it's going around over here. Look at this part of the scapula. It's kind of rolling in like that. Every line inside and wrapping around these forms is rolling in, and it's shading also, right? So look, this is some of the shading around the oblique, and it's going around. Here's another one going around the muscle and the pelvis area. This is what you need to do when you draw. Now, listen, let's look at this toe. Here we are. It's a live stream. We're talking about toes and feet again. Who knew? So you see this is a pattern. Convex line, roll around the form of the big toe. It's an oval. Another convex line, another convex line. We've got that. Form lines inside, there's no straight lines. Everything is curving around. And now look, the shading, what Michelangelo does with the shading is all of the shading is diverse. So some of the shading goes on a diagonal like that. Some of the shading goes curved. And sometimes the shading goes horizontal, like this almost, it's a curved horizontal over here on the top. Now, if we come down to the face, the lines are going all over the place. right? So what do I usually say when I'm doing my tutorials here on YouTube and at drawingtutorialsonline.com? I'll say shade in the direction of the object, the body part. Now, okay, it can go many different ways here, but look, I'm just showing you the diverse shading. These lines on the forehead are going vertical. The lines on the nose are going tilting that way, but then over here they're tilting that way. I don't like cross-hatching, but this is Michelangelo starting to lay in and block in value. Okay, so there's that. And then in other areas there are some beginnings of form lines wrapping around, wrapping around. Do you see that? Isn't that super cool? Now, even with this face, there's no straight lines really. Forehead curves in, the nose curves in and around the form, the upper lip curves in and goes around the form, the lower lip curves in, under the lower lip curves in, and even the chin curves in a little bit. So, okay, Matt, we got you. Don't be so repetitive. What else can you share with us? Well, the last thing that I can say here with the Leonardo da Vinci, now we're talking about these elements, lines that roll in from the edge, micro angles, aka complicated edge, right? Everything is wrapping around in oval. The shading is very diverse. Everything that is being drawn is anatomy. That's what I tell my students, my first year college students, when they arrive to my class. The only difference between me and you and what I draw and what you draw is you are drawing the figure and these shapes. I'm drawing the shape of anatomy. And that's what's really going on here with this model. They're very, very cut. They're very, very in shape. And yeah, they have no body fat. So you see all of the anatomy. I mean, look at the thoracic vertebrae over here. You can see that. It's craziness. And okay, now what else? Listen. What do I talk about over and over and over again, especially to the members of my website who upload their artwork to my critique gallery every Monday for a member critique? That is, when you draw, you must choose photo reference that has light and shadow. If you struggle with drawing and you need a fighting chance to survive through the drawing, to be a little dramatic. And if you don't use light and shade, and when you're learning, it's just going to be so much more difficult for you to learn fast. So over here, I'm not going to do the whole detail of it all, but this, in essence, is the line that separates the light from the shadow on that face. It comes down, line that separates, and then we pick it up at the neck. What do we see here? The line that separates the light side of this model's body from the shadow side of the body. Now, listen. When was this drawing completed? This drawing was completed. Oh, and by the way, a little fun fact. I think it was bought by John Singer Sargent, which is the coolest of the cool. God, I don't know. I don't know when it was created. I guess this might say circa 510. So needless to say, there was no McDonald's back in the day, and so, okay, the model was thin. So, yeah, it's easier to see the anatomy, and that's the model that we're going to use today in class. So, listen, this is a live stream. I can't have it be kind of, what's the word that I'm looking for? Scatterbrains, where I talk about 14 things that I love about the Michelangelo. I'm keeping it to 5 to 6 things. I don't want to be... I watched a video today on YouTube on a health topic, and I like to look at the comments, and one of the people in the comments wrote, "Could you stay on topic? You're all over the place." And as I'm watching the video, I'm like, oh my God, you know what? They're right. They are all over the place. And so I don't want to be all over the place. So let's do this. So the number one most important thing, the line that rolls into the form, incorporate that into your portrait drawings, figure drawings. Number 2, make the edge of your body parts complicated with micro angles. Number 3, what is this line rolling around? It is rolling around three-dimensional oval-like form. When you shade, it's okay to be diverse with your shading. Although I really like form shading that wraps around the form. Sometimes when you do the diagonal, it tends to get like a little flat. Yes. Now, what else? Practice and study one bone or one muscle a week. Anatomy takes forever to learn. Learn it in bite-sized chunks. And number 6, when you draw the figure or a portrait, please get photo reference that has light and shade. Okay? It's important when you're learning. Listen, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I can go on and on and on with this, but I don't want to bore you to death. Okay? But yeah, so now let me go back to one thing here. Let me go to my software. We need to draw because this is a drawing live stream. Let me go here. Cool. We're back. We're back. And let me look to see on YouTube if there are any questions or comments. Omar, you got it. Omar, any questions so far with what I just did there? While I get a little drink of water. I understand there's a little delay here. Okay, now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to get some paper and I'm going to do a little bit of a warm-up. So I'm going to just put this piece of paper down over here. And yeah, wow, that bottle looks so big on YouTube. Jesus. Okay. I love those bottles of water. I get them and then I usually refill them from a filtered water, and they're awesome. So you're not getting all those microplastics all day long. Okay, so where are we? Yeah, gosh. Okay, I need to draw. So let me do one thing. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. Yes, and I'm going to move this over. Cool. I'm just doing some housekeeping here. Thank you for your patience. And let me make that smaller still, or at least try to. Art for Recovery podcast. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. Good morning. Now, okay, good. There I am. And now I'm going to go to a different screen. And yeah, thank you, Leah. I appreciate you joining us. Let me see here. Let's go to the screen. So today is the 30th. Yes, this is the live. That's the Michelangelo, but I think I want to zoom in, people. I want to zoom in here. Yes. And I need to move my sheet of paper over a little bit. Let's see. Here's my hand. And yeah, that's a good size. Bear with me. I'm trying not to bore you. I'm trying to go as fast as I can, but yet be somewhat competent here and make a good video. All right, almost there, almost there. So listen, I'm sorry. I'm a broken record. I've got to do a quick little warm-up and show you the pencil that I'm going to be using. So today, I'm going to use Strathmore plain old-fashioned 80-pound drawing paper, okay? And how big is this? How big is this? So I have a sense. I need to zoom out. It's too small. That's better. Okie dokie. So warm up. Now I want to try a different pencil today. It's still the Colorace, but it's terracotta. Okay. And yes. So let's put some pencil down on the paper. I just want to do a little warm up. Now, this, I don't know if this is a good choice for a live stream, this pencil, but I just got it because I think it matches the Michelangelo drawing quite nicely. So I'm just trying to get the feel of this pencil on the paper. And I want to go to this pencil now and see, because sometimes the color erases dry differently. And this one seems a little bit darker. Color erase pencils get very hard as they age. Now, why do I always start with this warm up with these ovals like this? Because for me, this is always drawing the body all day long. It's drawing the body, and this is why I always start with ovals. And I'm just really moving my hand around the page like a lunatic right now, just to kind of get warmed up. And yeah, so that could be like my quick warm up. And yeah, okay. So this is what you should do as a warm-up. I think it's really beneficial. And then the other thing that you should also do as a warm-up is to draw a shape and then try to draw the same identical shape right next to it. Okay, and let's give it a go. I know some of you are like having deja vu. Like, didn't he do this last week? Yeah, we do this every week. This is a big part of the warm-up. So I think it's valuable if my head is not in the way. So let me move my head over here because we don't need to see that part of the drawing. So yeah, this angle needs to be a little bit more severe. Okay, and I think that's a little bit better. And yeah, so practice doing this. Now, if you want to go a little bit further with your warm-up, shade it and try to match the value. That's a great warm-up. Okay, so now that we've done our little quick warm-up, I don't want to belabor it here today. Let's start to draw part of the, and I'll use this sheet of paper as, when I do sketches, when I answer questions, I'll do that. So let me get this sheet of paper. I want to make sure I get the front, because the front of the paper has a wee bit more tooth to it. Awesome sauce. And now let me just tape this thing down, and I'm going to start to draw this Michelangelo shoulder here to show you what I just showed you on Photoshop, or in Photoshop, I should say. Okie dokie. Now, this feels a wee bit dark to me, and I just want to put my grayscale up there. Yes. Cool. Okay, Michelangelo. Get the reference, Matt. Face ID. It's on my iPad. Let's go to Photos. Awesome. Bring this iPad a little bit closer. So I'm going to start with the shoulder, okay? I'm not going to draw this whole pose. Let's see. Where am I on the screen? So if I start here, I have room for the head, which I'm not going to draw. I have room for part of the torso, so I'll start here. And then I can zoom in. So this shoulder now that's my first line that is going to roll in. Okay, I'm drawing a little too small. I got to go a little bit bigger here. I'm going to zoom in a moment. Hang in there. Actually, there's so much to do when you like this is so good, like, to stay young cognitively. When you do a live stream, you got to be on your toes, people. Like, God, I'm like, my brain's going 14 miles an hour here. So what did we say that Michelangelo does? Michelangelo does these lines that are complicated. So I'll make this a little bit more complicated. It rolls into the deltoid. I'm going to come back. I'm not going to get stuck. This is part of the clavicle, your collarbone, and it's attaching to the acromion of the scapula, so we have that. This is the front head of your shoulder, your deltoid muscle. There's three heads, the front, side, and back. Okay, this is the collarbone, and now let's go to the bicep. So the bicep is about the same height. So now we start this line with the bicep, and it rolls in and around like that. So I'm going to zoom in again because people are going to like check out on me on YouTube. That is so small. Now, listen, I am really doing my best, everybody on YouTube, to get the exact edge, because what did I really talk about in the Photoshop portion of today's class? I talked about the complicated edge. So if I blow through this, it's going to be terrible for you. So now, okay, let's come down to the bottom, and that's a little thick there. And I'm going to just kind of wing this right now and get this part. I'm going to go a little bit of a less complicated edge just for placement, and then we'll complicate it. So this is the elbow. I'm just trying to feel this out. And this is the forearm. And we'll adjust, and then it comes in, and then it comes out. It curves. Oh, okay, cool. And now let me just do one last little doodad here. Where's my tape? Awesome. So Michelangelo. Now, this bicep is, see what I'm doing? I'm curving around the form. Curving around the form of the arm. This is what you want to do. And I should draw, and I will draw right underneath it what not to do. So this and this are level. I shouldn't worry so much about the proportions. So now let's just do some stuff on the inside. So I'm going to shade. I'm not going to copy it 100%. I want to show you how to a little bit more so exaggerate these curved lines around the deltoid. That is super important that you do that. Now I'm adding a shape over here. Okay, now the bicep. There's rolls in. There's like a little shape over here, and then the bicep rolls in here. There's a separation of the, I think it's the brachialis or the brachial radialis. I always mix those two up. It's a little muscle over here. I know what it looks like visually. This would be our deltoid, and I'm going to roll in again with a longer line, and then it comes down. I see that mark there, and I'm going to lower this, and then I need to branch out to give myself like a little bit of more context before I get too caught up and then my proportions are screwy. So I need to draw a little bit more of the big picture. So big picture is now this lat muscle is doing, what is it doing? I'm probably going to say 14 million different times. It's rolling into the body. And what is it rolling into? An oval. And now what we see here is still a little bit of that lat. Hold on now, 1 second. So I'm going to go a little darker. Now this is a little rib cage / lat. And then what Michelangelo has over here is this muscle called the serratus anterior. You only see this on uber thin people. I remember I had lost a bunch of weight, and I got out of the shower, looked in the mirror. I'm like, holy shit, I can see my serratus anterior. I was like so happy. I think that was like one day. I saw my serratus anterior for like one day. And then I ate food, and then it went away. So it's yeah, okay, I digress. Now I'm going to make this edge complicated. I gotta admit, like, drawing this is freaking awesome. I just don't know how interesting this is on YouTube. I'm trying. I'm a big believer in this long form content. Everything is like snippets. Everything is doom scrolling, like short little shorts, and like I'm here on my YouTube channel to try to give you some value. And the value, I can't do value in a 90-second short. I can do value in like an hour-long live stream, and that's what I'm trying to do here for you. But it does take a minute to get started, and I appreciate you sticking with me. Okay, so I'm really doing my best to make this as complicated as I can, and I probably should resharpen this pencil. And yes. Okay, so now let's see. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go back to home base, and I'm going to recomplicate. So this deltoid comes in, and then it goes up, and it's pretty dark here. It starts to cascade down. And yeah, we've got the acromion of the scapula, and we've got the attachment to the clavicle. I know there's a name for that joint. It's escaping me at this moment. It's all good. It's not an anatomy class, but what am I drawing? Anatomy. So now this is your trapezius, and it's rolling into the body. Let's come back and get this anterior head of the deltoid. I'm going to go over that a couple of times. It's a nice 4 micro angles. Okay, and then we curve in. Let me just do some interior shading lines. So I'm going to do some interior shading lines over here, and these are diagonals, but I'm going to curve them. So what did we also say in the Photoshop portion of this class, that the shading lines go in all different directions. Now, when I do cross-hatching, I hate it. It reminds me of when I was in high school, like in the 80s, and the teacher, one of my first art teachers, Mr. Mahler, taught us cross-hatching, and I thought it was like the shit. That was back in, ninth grade, and mid-80s, early 80s or something like that. So there's some cross-hatching, but I'm not a fan of cross-hatching, so this bicep has a little bit more shading lines. Now, remember, don't draw with a Mack truck. What's a Mack truck? This is a Mack truck, this China marker. There's no point. You have to have a point to do these little small shading lines. Let me do this one more time. Cool. And maybe that's too much. Alrighty, so now what I'm going to do is I want to do some shading down below. Now, I would probably go this way with the lay of the land, and then I'll do the lines that Michelangelo did. Now, listen, this is all educated guesses on my part. I'm just drawing what I see, and I'm pointing out the things that I see when I look at the Michelangelo. And I'm trying to help you to incorporate this stuff into your artwork as well. Now, I got to make sure I don't make this arm too long. Now, some people who watch me on YouTube don't like the outline aspect of my drawings, and I'm cool with that. You don't have to like everything that I do. I love to make the outlines really thick and dark. I think it just gives like these studies so much more pop, and I think it looks cool, right? So what else can we do? So there's like a little separation over here of the thicker part of the triceps to the triceps tendon. And now if I'm looking at a measurement and I go from here to the forearm, I think I'm going to bring the forearms super thick. I'm going to bring the forearm in. What I really need is the neck. So if I look at the front and the collarbone, and now the neck, let's see, that's an S curve, that's the throat, no straight lines in figure drawing. What did Tom Hanks say? There's no crying in baseball. Well, there's no straight lines in figure drawing class, right? Now, Matt, that clavicle looks like a straight line. Don't tell anybody. Okay, so now I'm going to come back over here, and let's go back to the forearm. It's thicker, and I'm looking at the distance, Angelia, from the neck to the forearm. Okay, and so I'm going to put that in, and listen, this person is built, and yeah, okay. Art for Recovery podcast. I'm enjoying this entirely. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for commenting, and thank you so much for watching. Yeah, I think I'm going to sharpen this pencil to death here today. So, okay, now I'm going to do some shading lines. I'm going this way. Now, oh, this is pretty complicated still. So we have this little muscle, this little wraparound, and I want to go to where that shadow starts. And this arm does stick out a lot. Okay, so what are we drawing here? What are we drawing here? I'm going to wrap in. I'm trying to copy exactly what Michelangelo was doing. And this should come down. Maybe this could be slightly higher. So everything is curving. Now, what about that? That is a little bit higher, right about there. Now I'm going to bring this elbow in. Okay, so we're here. I'm going to bring this in. It's curving around the form, complicated edge, elbow, bone. It angles down, micro angles, like we talked about in Photoshop. Multiple angles on the edge, complicated edge. And so now we've kind of got that little elbow area. Now, let's just go into the forearm. This is a little bit more concave, and this part of the muscle of the forearm is to the left of the elbow. So I'm doing all these visual measurements as I'm drawing, going over my line. And here's another thing that you could do. You can go on top of the line that you've already drawn and make it thicker. Okay? Make that line a little thicker. Let me move this grayscale. And let's do some shape. I need to move over. I need to shuffle over to the left. Okay, so let's see. How is this working for you, Omar? Is this working for you? I know there's a 14 million other Michelangelo drawings, but this is the one that I chose. It's definitely one of my favorites. And I am so not a Michelangelo expert. Like, there are other artists that I'm so much better at understanding their history and their artwork, their body of work, more so than Michelangelo. I never really studied Michelangelo aside from just like staring at their drawings. Like, I don't know too much about them historically and all that jazz. This is just totally technique here today on this live stream. So what am I doing? And I'm being very repetitious in what I'm saying to you on the live stream. What am I doing now? I am curving around what? An oval. Now, with this technique, you've got to, on it, you've got to, every line needs to be curved. You've got to put these lines in. You have to have a sharp pencil. Have to is a very strong word. I recommend that you have a sharp pencil. Now, I was looking for, this is an underplane of the elbow area, so I'm going to shade that. And so what is really, what I did as an exercise when I had a Zoom class, it was great. It was a live model for my SVA class. We had to meet on Zoom, and and we were drawing in Photoshop, and I put the Michelangelo drawing and Raphael in Photoshop. So they would draw the model in Photoshop, and we would be looking at the Raphael drawing as we were drawing the model, and we would try to be mimicking that line. That is such a flippin' great exercise. Okay, so now curved lines. A little bit more traditional shading over here on the diagonal. Curving around the forearm. Here's our line that separates, and now all of these shading lines would curve around. And okay, this is going to take a long time to build up. Let's work on this for a little while longer. D-Re or Rye. DW, man, I'm finding this so interesting. I love the long form content, and it's kept me tuning in since 2016 or so. Thank you for doing what you do. I appreciate you very much, and I thank you so much for watching today. You know, I love this stuff. This is what I think I like the most. Second favorite is portrait drawing, but yeah, doing this type of figure drawing is truly my favorite. Now I'm going to do the diagonal shading and diagonal shading is meant for what? It's meant to block in shapes of value, i.e. shadow shapes. And when you do that, that's the beginning. And then what you would do is you would start to do the form lines on top of that. Okay? All right, let me, I want to branch out. And I need to move this drawing over a little bit, okay? So just hang in there, people. Hang in there. Okay, now I want to branch out a little bit. I want to do a little bit over here with the lat. I think I've got the lat curving in too much. Curve, 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 curve. Diagonal, diagonal, diagonal. And these lines, they're all diagonals. Yes. So questions. Do we have any questions? Okay, just doing some shading. Let's come on down with this edge line here. Again, it's rolling in. And then let's reinforce the serratus anterior, that wrap around your rib cage from the underside of your floating scapula. Pretty much floats on your back for the most part. And I can go a little darker on the underplanes. I'm going to go a little darker here. And thicker, darker here. I just want to be a little neater with this drawing. Okay. Yeah. How we doing? How we doing, people? Curving around. Now, my animation students, I'm going to make them do this with me. This is going to be part of their homework early on in the semester, because I need to show you what people primarily do with their edge of the arm. And I should do that soon. Yes. Okay, let's just put in a little bit more tone. Now, my terracotta is not going to match the darkness of the Michelangelo. And all of this is so much darker. There's no white paper here. I really wanted to use tone tan paper today, but I just didn't have any. I just have so much toned gray. Okay. Steve. Great exercise to realize how much more I need to learn and spend time on this. So I hear you. I hear you totally. Now, here's what a lot of people do. And listen, I've got a long way to go with this arm. Trust me. But let me zoom out just a touch. Yes. So when people draw the arm, and let's say here's the forearm over here, and this is the elbow, and like a lot of people will do the bicep and then the deltoid. So what is happening, and I'm being very extreme with somebody who's an absolute beginner. So what we see here is two different things happening simultaneously. Number one, the person is drawing with straight lines for the forearm. Number two, the person is drawing with multiple edge lines because they're using a nervous line, because maybe they're in a life drawing class, they're a little worried about screwing up and embarrassing themselves in front of their classmates. Maybe they're just haven't drawn enough, and so they've got a shaky hand. And maybe they know nothing about anatomy, so they don't know what to draw in the middle. So what we see here is we see, number one, a straight line. Number two, I call this chicken scratch. And number three, in the middle, we see that it is empty. Now, if I do say and suggest to the model, to the students drawing the model, shade in the middle, what they will do is they will start to shade like this. And so what they're doing is they're doing all of these lines, and now this line is going, the grain of the arm is going this way, but the shading lines are going the opposite way. And so what they're doing is now they're creating a distraction. Like this would be like a distraction, where they're starting to begin to shade, and they're trying to make the arm look round, but it's too hardcore that way. Does that make sense? So if you left my live stream right now and you're like, yeah, he's all right, I'm getting a little bored, I need to move on. If you leave now and you just take away, there are no straight lines on the edge of the body, don't do the chicken scratch, don't shade against the grain, and don't leave the inside of the arm completely empty, and study a Michelangelo arm or any body part before you do your figure drawing. Oh my God, that's going to be like really the way to do this. Cool. So let's see, what time is it? I lost reference and scale. I like to use reference to scale for larger drawing. So for me, the reference, the scale for me is from here to here. I guess I'm drawing the size of my iPad. So at risk of screwing everything up here, hang in there. I've got my iPad, and I could have actually done this on my iPad. And yeah, I could have drawn over this in Photoshop. One day I'm going to do, wow, that doesn't look bad. If I can find my Apple Pencil, like I lost it, it's somewhere in my office. Maybe my next live stream I'm going to draw on my iPad. I'm going to give it a go. I think that's going to be really cool. I won't go there now. Well, actually, yes, I will. Hold on now. Actually, no, I won't. Yeah. Photoshop. So these are very, very, very short drawings with the model. I'm going to say they're like 4 minutes each, but I'm trying my very best to do the same thing. So I'm rolling in and around, rolling in, rolling around. The deltoid that we're drawing here today, I'm rolling in and around. So it's kind of the same thing. Now, if I can find one maybe where I spent a little bit more time on a drawing. Same thing. You can see it over here. I'm rolling in and around, These are short drawings, gesture drawings, where I'm kind of putting them all on one page. And I practice what I preach. Like all of this like rolls in and around form. Okay? It's really, really, really cool stuff. And let me just see if I can't find one more. Okay. Let me, it's just giving me an error message. I don't know what that's all about. I think everybody in my house is online on meetings. And so, so let me go back, time out. Questions? Okay. This is from Rai or Ri. Who have been your favorites to study form? Any personal favorites or ones that seem to work well for your students? And so for me, it's like hands down, it's Alphonse Maria Mucha. Uh, yeah, so Mucha, Alphonse Maria Mucha. So Mucha, but when you go to Google, you got to type in Mucha drawings, and there's what'll pop up are all the Art Nouveau drawings, but there's also a lot of drawings that are very, very realistic, and those are the ones that I have my students draw. So let me just, I hope that answered your question. I mean, I like so many people, it's crazy. I really think a good person to also study is Raphael. If you go to Google, and Google's changing dramatically with all the AI crap. So now if I type in Raphael drawings on Google, like I'll get student copies of Raphael drawings, and I'll get like AI versions of copies of Raphael drawings. And so it's very hard. If you find a high quality, like original Raphael drawing on Google, just drag it to your desktop and save it. Because like who knows how much longer it's actually going to be on Google, because there's going to be so much like corruption with all of this stuff. But I digress. I'm not anti-AI. I'm just saying what I'm observing when I've been looking for these drawings for years, and now everything's kind of changing a little bit, and they're not there as much as they used to be. Okay, so back to the drawing. Yes, now I'm going to press down a little bit harder in some areas. And soon we'll go to our photo reference. I hope that you're enjoying this. Maybe I could zoom in just a little bit. Now, hopefully, my camera, it's certainly not 4K. Hopefully it's picking up all of these little lines that I'm drawing here, and hopefully it's just not all fading. They're not all fading into one another. I get you. A lot of my students are anti-AI. You have to do and think what works best for you. I'm not preaching for or against at all. Okay, so just some more form lines, and maybe so now here's the dealio with this pencil. This pencil takes a long time. The color erase takes a long time to shade. And that's the downfall of the color erase. It's a pencil that you need hours to render things with. Rye is correct. Awesome. So let's do this darker line. And darker, thicker line, underplane, turning under, rolling in. It's a little messy over here. This line technically is lighter. I'm making it darker for the sake of the video here. Let's go back up to the shoulder. There's lots of cool things happening. All right, let's say I'll work on this maybe, so I'm not going to bore you all to death here for about 10 more minutes. What do you think? And then we'll move on to photo reference, and we'll draw from that. So I could work on this for a very long time and just try to get all of these lines, but I just don't know how much of this my camera is actually picking up. I'll post the drawings to my blog as well as the posts on YouTube. And for members of my website, and you know who you are if you're watching, you can get the photo reference of the nude on DTO in the members area. Just go to the members area, and as soon as you log in, right there, you'll see the blog post for this live stream. And in that blog post, the video's there, and the photo reference is there, and the link to the Michelangelo page is also there. So I put all those goodies there for you if you want to go check it out. I know, Leah, you might be interested in that. Okay, so here's Art for Recovery podcast. So it says, I struggle with retaining the proportions of limbs and the appropriate length of the body, things like torso, arms, and legs. How can I retain that when drawing from my mind? Okay, so just to give myself a little break from this drawing to reset my eyes, and I'm going to use this pencil to be a little bit more over the top. Maybe not that pencil. I'm going to use a pen. So basically, everything, one second. Everything for me starts with this torso. I do not go anywhere else until when I'm drawing out of my imagination, until I draw that torso and I'm somewhat happy with it. Okay, now if I zoom out, the next step with this would be figuring out the pose. And one second. The next step would be figuring out the pose and then drawing all the way down to the foot. It's a little bit off camera there. So like this is exactly how I get my proportions. I start from the torso, and then I do a line of action, if I see it, down to the foot. Now, I say when I do that, well, this person has extremely long legs. So then I'll say, I do this visually. I'll say, I think it'd be better if I lift up that foot right there. So that's called a target. I just have 1, 2, 3 targets. I like that better. That's how I do it. And then there are other things that I teach, like the bottom of the rib cage is the bottom of the upper arm. Shoulders, the bottom of the rib cage is the bottom of the upper arm. That would be the bottom elbow area, the humerus, and then forearm is coming on down. I'll just do a quick little oval for the hand. I think that hand would be lower. That I usually just do by eye. And then most of the figures that I draw, where's my remote? Most of the figures that I draw tend to be 6.5 heads high. So I recommend not doing the oval for the head. I'm just doing that right now for this demonstration. So 6.5 heads high, let's say that's the model's head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's not 6.5 heads high. It's 7 heads high. So that's a little tall for me. So that's how I do it. Now, out of my imagination, I am starting with the torso, and then how do I want this leg? And then I'll do the legs. And yeah, so it's something like that for me. I hope that helped. Okay. Let's work on this for a couple more minutes, and then we'll go to the photo reference. For beginners, which practice are good for flow in hand and which practices are good for flow in hand and improve shape of body parts? There's a lot of good artists out there with a lot of books. It's hard for me to recommend. Like right now, let's see. What I do recommend is that, I'm giving myself a shameless plug. You spend $19 and you join my website for 1 month, and then you cancel after a month, and you look at the courses that teach gesture drawing, and they'll teach you this, and they will also teach you these exercises for the flowy hand the flowy hand is just really drawing these ovals and going over it and over it and over it, and then going around that oval with form lines. That is exactly what you need to do to get looser. Okay, so yes, and then after you do that, what I don't have a lot of art books. I have a lot of books of artists. That's different. So now when I draw the body, this is the, like, you have to, Megana, just use this continuous line and do not lift your pencil off of the paper. That is truly the key to drawing in a loose way. Now, the not so key to drawing in the loose way is drawing with straight lines and constantly lifting your pencil off of the paper. Now, I have a video on my YouTube channel that is from the course that I'm talking about on my website that shows gesture drawing. Like, I think it's called 10-minute gesture drawing. It had a good amount of views. I think like 200,000 plus views. You should watch that one. It's really good. It should be under figure drawing. I hope that helped you. Okay, so let's just work on this for 2 more minutes, and then we'll move on. This is all darker, and I'm not really matching the values. I'm just showing you the things that we talked about in Photoshop. And yeah, I mean, I want to keep putting pencil down. There's so much going on in this drawing. It's crazy. You know, think about it. One of my favorite teachers is just Bridgman, and a lot of people don't like Bridgman because some of the lines are very, very sketchy and loose, and it's hard to copy Bridgman drawings. I really love Bridgman. I like Loomis, and I have like copies of Loomis's books, and but I didn't learn via Loomis. I learned really through looking at artists and looking at Bridgman, and I'm trying to think of whom else. When I was in my probably right around 30 or mid 30s, I'm a big believer in Mike Matisse. He's on YouTube. He's got a really wonderful channel. You know, I'm talking about my competitor because I believe in Mike. Mike's a really good artist, and if you're looking to get loose, you should check out Mike. Mike's work is really good. His videos on YouTube are very, very good. And he visited my class at SVA, and I loved his demos. I thought they were fabulous. We do speak the same language. Mike would hate this drawing. I know he would. I know he would. I like doing both. I like doing these tight studies along with the gesture and the movement stuff. Today is not about gesture and movement, Mike. I'm sorry. It's just about understanding what you can do with the edge and how to learn about some of this stuff from Michelangelo. Yes. Okay. So I think I'm going to put this little study to bed. It needs work, but I don't want to bore you to death with rendering and all this. Does anybody have any questions about this before I move on to the model now? And I'm probably going to stand up and have a bathroom break here in a moment. So just to recap, what is Mike? I keep saying podcast. This is not a podcast. It's a live stream. Okay. What is this live stream all about? It is about, number one, convex line. Convex line that rolls into the form. And what is it rolling around? An oval. this live stream is also about anatomy, because every single thing that I am drawing, I can label. Anterior head of the deltoid. This is the lateral head of the deltoid. This is the posterior head of the deltoid. This is the acromion of the scapula. This is the clavicle. That's the bicep. It's all there. Tricep, lat muscle. Over here, these lines that we did not put in, it's further to the right. This is the edge of the scapula. Scapula coming on down. That kind of finishes off that shoulder a little bit. So what we are drawing, people, is anatomy. The shading, what Michelangelo does is his shading lines are going in all different directions. But I think the key takeaway from today's class is that most of your shading lines should wrap around the three-dimensional form of the object that you are drawing, aka a muscle, which is an oval. Makes sense? And then if I'm going to do a study like this, I'm going to choose a piece of art that has good light and shade. And if I'm going to work from a model, I'm going to work from a model that has good light and shade. Now, there are some artists out there who use light and shade too much as a crutch, and that's no good either. You should be able to draw with no light and shade and just draw what you see with line, and that's a whole nother skill set. We're not going to talk about that today, but yeah, that's another thing. Okay, this drawing, this little study is done. I kind of want to keep making the edge darker, because the more and more I look at the edge, but this is going to be a little boring. Like I could probably work on this for a full-blown hour, but it wouldn't be must-see TV, trust me. It would just be a lot of what I'm doing right now, which is going over what I've already established, pressing down harder, and doing all that kind of jazz. So does this make sense to y'all? Cool. Okay. Now, let's do this, people. I'm going to leave this up. I need to do a little bathroom break. We're going to come back, and when I come back, I'm going to switch to the photo reference, and we're going to draw the model, and we're going to try to do the same thing that we did on this Michelangelo arm study. Okay, I'll be back in a minute. All right, we're back. And okay, so let's try something different here for a second. Okay, so this is a tiny little drawing, very tiny. Let me take this piece of paper off. And so this is our small little study, and I'm digging it. It's cool. It needs work, but everything needs work. Work just basically means time, right? Just needs more time. And how much, oh, I have this drawing here. This is the toned tan paper with the same pencil utilizing the white charcoal. And yeah, that's a fun little study. Love that. This is the paper that I want to draw on today because it really would have made the Michelangelo study look more like the Michelangelo study, but next time. So yeah, I've got the tone gray, but I don't like the terracotta pencil on the tone gray paper for whatever reason. It just doesn't look that pleasing to the eye to me. Okay. Tape. Let's switch. Let's go to the reference and show you what you're getting yourself into. Today's the 29th. No. Today's the 30th. Okay. Now, for members of DTO, I have this photo reference on the website. Log into DTO, and you can get the photo reference, Leah, without the marks on the photo reference that hide body parts. Okay. Okay. Cool. So now what we're going to do with this is, and I've got to get that photo reference myself. Here we go. And I'm going to zoom in. Yeah. Any questions before we start to draw this together? I'm going to just, there's like a little delay, so I'm going to give everybody a chance to catch up. Cool. Okay. Where's the top of my paper? The top of my paper is here. I need to move me out of the way. I don't need to be there. I don't know how much of this we're going to draw. We're not going to draw it down near the hip. If we do, I'll move myself. Okay. Okay, awesome. So this is the top of my paper. That's the bottom. I've got plenty of room here. So I'm not gonna draw the head in this today. There's just no time for me to do a portrait. I'm gonna focus on the shoulder, the rib cage, the lat muscle, all that jazz. So it's more of an anatomical study. I'm certainly not going to draw the whole thing. We're just doing a study today, people. So shoulder. Oh, that's. Oh, I've already freaking got the wrong angle. For Pete's sakes. For Pete's sakes. For Pete's sakes. God. Okay. Gee whiz. Okay. Sorry. How does this erase? It erases fine. Now focus, Matt. Focus on the reference. Pay attention. Concentrate. Concentrate. Draw a little bit bigger. So I'm going to start here at the top of the shoulder near the neck. And then that angles that a ways. And now, what do we say? Micro angles. So now the deltoid curves around like that. And what we've got our first roll in. And I'm going to try to go a little faster. And so now this comes out, complicated edge, and then it rolls in. Now, you may not see these lines on the body. I am pressing down harder on these lines. Here's our lat muscle. I don't see that rolling in right there. And then I'm going to do the ribs. Okay. So I to give myself some context here, I need to move this over. And I need to draw some stuff in the middle because right now this is probably really boring for you to look at where I just did that edge line. But that's how I start. You know, I get it. It's not like the most exciting thing for you to look at right now, but that's how I like to start. So now I need to start to do some stuff in the middle. So this is that tricep, bicep area. Back to this deltoid. Can't seem to get that tilt. And yes. So we're trying to draw like the Michelangelo. So now I need to draw a little bit inside. So how, okay, so this is rolling around. These are now some of the curved lines. My website, I have links for my website in when you look at the show more right underneath the video. Right underneath the video. There's links to my website. So, okay, now I'm going to drop the tricep. It curves in, gravity. And now the underarm area. I'm not concentrating enough. My brain is kind of all over the place. There's a shadow shape at the underarm area, curving in, curving in, curving in. There's a little curve in at the underarm. I'm going to put a little bit of tone there. I'm just using some form lines, some diagonal pencil strokes. Over here we have some lines, some form lines. Let me resharpen my pencil. And so, yeah, we got this. It's very light on the model's body. You probably can't even see it, but I'm exaggerating. So this is not a case in point of where I'm copying the values. I'm exaggerating what I see. So it could kind of sync up with what we've done earlier here in class. So this is the model's lat muscle. Okay, and I need to press down harder, and now we have a little bit of the rib cage pushing out, and then it kind of, I see a little roll in. I think I need to do more in the middle so I can have a little bit more context. So if I come back here to the underarm, press down hard, I'm committing a little bit here now. There's a convex, and now we've got and this is the humerus medial epicondyle. I think it could be a little lower. And this is the lateral epicondyle, and it's a convex. This would be the tricep. That feels a little short to me. I might move this deltoid again and then angle it up. So now this eraser is, it's not dry as a bone. Sometimes these erasers dry out. I'm deliberately pressing down hard. Now, let me move this. One second. Okay, so now I'm going to curve this into the chest, and now I'm going to do my Michelangelo line that separates the light from the shadow on this model's chest. I'm going to get the center of the breast. And I'm doing the line that separates. It's curving around what? It's curving around an oval, right? Center of the chest. How far away is the center of the chest from the edge of the body? Maybe it's here. I need to focus a little bit more. I'm a little scatterbrained right now. Center of the chest. And I might want to just indicate where the forearm starts. Okay, so let's do some form lines. Let's do some of the Michelangelo form lines. So first I'm just going to get this shape. And now I'm going to try to do some of the Michelangelo form lines that go in, go in, go in. We don't see this on the photo reference. We're using our artistic license. And questions? I'm just going to try to move a little closer. I am so far away from this drawing. 1 second. I want to get a little comfortable. I am not comfortable. I am so far away from the drawing. This is better. Okay, so deltoid. Again, I'm going over. That rolls in. Rolls in. I'm going over the line that I've already drawn. Curving around the form. These lines curve around what? They curve around an oval. I'm pressing down a little bit harder. This is not about creating atmosphere and depth. This is about form lines that wrap around the model's body that promote three-dimensional form. Into the elbow area. What's the elbow? The elbow is an oval. From this vantage point, it's really the ulna bone. So this could be longer. Yeah, definitely could be longer. So I'm moving the medial epicondyle and the lateral epicondyle, and I'm making this part of the upper arm thinner so we can erase that out. This pencil erases out beautifully right now. Usually these pencils, the eraser dries out like terribly, and then you go to erase and you destroy the drawing. And yeah, so I didn't think I was going to be drawing the elbow, but it kind of looks pretty cool. Some anatomical landmarks, some form lines, some shading lines. I'm going to go around the form this way, aka Michelangelo, so I get a little bit more of that three-dimensional form. Well, I mean, Sammy Tabby, last week I did a 3-hour live stream using the toned paper. So you don't need to watch all 3 hours, but you could watch, after this live stream, you could watch part of the tips for this is, and this is much warmer than what you're seeing here on the camera. This is definitely more orangey, and on the camera it looks very cool. But it's the same thing. I'm doing the identical same thing on toned paper. The only difference that I talked about last week in last week's live stream was that I only use the white charcoal in the light. I do not use the white charcoal in the shadow. So that is like my quick tip for using toned paper. Let's see. Okay, so curve, curve, curve. So this could be something that you introduce into your repertoire, and when you draw the figure, whether it's out of your imagination or you're drawing the figure from a photo or you're copying, I really do think that you all should copy a few old master drawings. Now, copy is like a very dirty word but you're not plagiarizing, you're practicing. That's different than copying for profit. You understand what I'm saying? Some of these could be curvier. Take your time, slow down a little bit. I would not go dark with the entire outline of the body. I would have dark sections and light sections. I'm going dark so it actually shows up on the video. Please understand that. That's a whole nother class. That's one of my best classes at SVA is line diversity. I don't know if I'll ever teach that one on YouTube. There's so many good nuggets there. I don't know if I want to give all those away for free. But yeah, so just don't ever have the same line thickness and darkness around the entirety of the body. It just is a flattener. It's tough when you're working on video because you have to press down hard earlier rather than later, so the viewer, you on YouTube watching me at home, could actually see what I'm doing. Yeah, so that's the reason why I'm doing the same line variety on the entirety of the pose. Okay, so let's do some interior landmarks because that's what Michelangelo did. So we can do a separation of a serratus anterior, and then here's a serratus anterior. This is the lat. It's still overlapping the serratus. Serratus over here. So what did Michelangelo do? Michelangelo primarily drew anatomy. So we have a serratus anterior, a rib that rolls in almost from the edge. Is this on video? Yeah, it's all the way down in the corner. Are you getting something from today's class? I hope so. If you are, let me know in the comments. And if you have any questions, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. That would be super helpful for the channel. And yeah. So what else can we do here? So this here's the center of the breast. At least that's where I think it is. Then we've got this. It's not quite the bottom rib. It's protruding pretty powerfully, and then it rolls in. Again, everything rolls in. No straight lines. No straight lines. And this is curving around. This is the bottom of the breast. Okay, and now we have the line that separates on the center. Now I'm looking from the center to the edge. Do I have that correct? Maybe, maybe not. Line that separates, and this is the center line of our model's body, which is an S-curve. Okay, cool. And I'll do a little bit over here. Is this making sense? Okay, let's keep pushing this. So I'm going to move the center line over. Yeah, because there's more of a tilt. Curve in. This is all shadow. Trying to figure out this width. And this side of the breast on the chest is in shadow. So I'm doing the Michelangelo curved lines, at least I'm trying to. So that's what we're pulling out of the class today, is that everything wraps around form. and nothing is flat. And you've got to do all these lines inside of the body. Now the center of the breast is just a cylinder. And it's casting a shadow on the breast in and of itself. Now back to the lat muscle, a couple of form lines. That is a little harsh there for me. It's a little too dark in the light. Let's go a little longer with the lines here. Is this making sense? Any questions? If you like the live stream, please give it a thumbs up. I would really appreciate that. Awesome. So we're getting there. It's taken a while. This is a slow process. Let's exaggerate some of these lines curving in. You just don't want to press down too hard in the light, because then you destroy your form. So let's, Anna, making sense. Thank you for the tips in anatomy lesson. You got it, Anna. Thank you for joining today. Awesome. Thanks for chiming in. Now, let's do a little comparison. So this is the Michelangelo study, and I went a little crazy with the dark outlines, right? So I'm not there yet with this one. I did a little bit more shading. I'm not there yet with this one, but it just, you know, it takes time. Now, there's also a time and place for this. Like, not every body that you draw is going to have like 4% body fat. That's very rare nowadays. I wish. But, you know, if you're just, let's say you're doing like a regular portrait, you don't need to go so crazy. Like, I have a convex line here. I have a convex line here, but it's not necessarily a line, it's a tone. I have a convex tone over here that's wrapping around. I have a convex line here on the shoulder. So I didn't go too crazy with it on the face. You don't want all these convex lines on a young person that you're drawing. If it's an old guy, maybe somebody gritty, that's another story. And you're trying to show all the wrinkles. You have more convex lines on the hair than anywhere else. So, but this is different. So you have to kind of put all this into its proper context. And again, I would never go. I'm trying to look for lines here. They're kind of semi-hidden. I would never go this dark with this outline on the light side of the body, but I'm just simply doing it so you can see what I'm actually drawing here. Thank you, CN90. Appreciate that. I wish, yeah, I should change my white balance, because now I'm in the shade and it would get a little warmer. It's very cool. So 1 second. I want to change my white balance, if you can bear with me. I'll be back in like 30 seconds. It didn't change much, but I do like that better. I do like that a little bit better. Okay, cool. Thank you for that. Okay, let's push it a little bit more. And I don't know where I'm going to take this study. I mean, I do like the way that it's coming out this arm. I should have, you know, I probably should have, could have, should have done a lot of things. But what's right below the elbow? And okay, so I'm going to flow from here. I'm just going to wing this to this chest, convex. It's lower, that breast. I wasn't planning on drawing the other side of the torso because I already would have done that with the torso peanut shape, but I'm going to, yeah, just attempt it. I just wanted like a little bit of context over there. So I could go more with a darker shape here. Maybe I'll do this for like 15, 20 more minutes and we'll call it a live stream because I think you kind of got the idea of what to do with the Michelangelo tools, we're going to call them, because that's what they are. They're like tools that you could use in your artwork to give your drawings, your figure drawings specifically, a whole lot more volume. So maybe what I can do over here on this side is have everything be like perhaps like a little bit looser. And that side a little bit tighter. So everything on Michelangelo curves, curves, curves. I'm just scribbling a little bit now. I'm trying to go a little bit faster. Curve around the bottom of the breast. Don't go too dark in the light. This is just a rib separation. Curve around. There should be no straight line. So you hear me, I'm extremely repetitive. Extremely repetitive in what I'm teaching. And that's the point of all this here today. So I can go a little bit thicker, darker, make this arm pop. And I could try to make this arm feel more complicated. We talked about that, complicated edges. Yeah. Gravity. A little bit darker over here. And under the elbow. Yeah, I can probably get lost in this for hours, no doubt. Curve around the elbow. It's just an oval, right? So, yeah. So all of these lines have a purpose, and the purpose is to promote three-dimensional form. Now, I understand this type of drawing is not for everybody. This is very much modeling form. We're doing it in, I think this is a little bit more stylized versus total realism with all these types of lines, but I like it. I think it's kind of cool. Now, where you should end the drawing should be the middle of the forearm, not the joint. Okay, let's see. Any questions? Any questions, people? Everyone's quiet today. Let's see. I'm going to go a little darker here in the underarm because Michelangelo in his study went a little darker. Yeah, and curving around. Just looking at little measurements. Yeah, we'll go until 1 o'clock, and then we'll call this one done. Just looking at these are ribs and pectoralis striations together. Let's go a little darker over here. I just make the edge of everything more complicated in this particular Michelangelo sort of way. Bottom of the rib cage almost. This rib is really pronounced. It curves around, and then we get a little shape here. Another rib right below it, coming from the edge of the body, the convex line, like what we talked about. And then this is a little bit more oblique. I don't want to go too much lower with it, and then I'm going to open up Pandora's box. So I just got to be careful where I end the drawing. Because again, cropping, like you've got to know where to crop things properly. And this is an upper torso study. And the reason why we're doing this here today is because we're just focusing in on the complicated edges, form lines, shadow shapes, all those things, anatomical landmarks. Now, I'm going to give, I've been teaching you now for like an hour and 50 minutes, just about, hour and 45 minutes. I'm going to give myself a little plug. So for those of you who are watching me here today on YouTube, I have two services right now that I offer to students who want to improve. Number one is my website, drawingtutorialsonline.com, where you could sign up there and cancel anytime. With an annual, once you sign up for the annual, you're there. You can cancel it from recurring, but yeah. So it's an awesome service because I can actually critique your artwork. You can post it to the website's critique gallery. Every single Monday, I do a video critique, and I draw on top of your drawing, which is invaluable, especially for $19 a month to have a teacher. Drawing on top, that's kind of like private coaching. And that's the other thing that I offer. If you're not interested in joining a website, I also offer coaching. It could be a one-time coaching session where you send me your body of work, maybe 5 to 7 pieces of art, with questions, and I've got like a whole thing for you to write. And then I draw on top of all that, and I do like a 45-minute to a 1-hour critique of your artwork, and then we meet on Zoom. It doesn't need to be Zoom. We can meet on the phone, and some people like that better. So that's different. That's coaching. And coaching is, if you go to my website, drawingtutorialsonline.com, I have a shop link at the top, and in the shop you will see the coaching options. Who's a candidate for coaching? Well, if you're a high school student and you are trying to get a portfolio together to show to colleges, I could most definitely help you with that. That could be the coaching. I've done that before. If you love to draw portraits and you just are stuck and you're watching all these YouTube videos but you're not getting anywhere, I could definitely look at your work and tell you immediately what you need to work on to improve fast. If you are just putting together an illustration portfolio, I could help you with that. So the coaching is really catered to you and your needs and wants. Yeah, so absolutely. Take a peek at some of those things. All right, so this is coming along. I can see myself working on this for hours. What needs to happen is the other side of the chest needs to be shaded. That would really help. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate you, brother. And William, maybe next time you can demonstrate using an anatomical knowledge for creating exaggerated superheroes. Oh boy, I'm not really a superhero artist. Like, I'd probably be wiped with the floor. A comic artist would wipe the floor with my butt. That's the saying, right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's a good suggestion, and I will take it into consideration. I don't know how good I would be with that. What I could do is I can find a photo reference of a muscular dude and draw that. I love drawing muscular guys. I can draw the muscular guy and really kind of exaggerate the size of their muscle. So that's a direction I could take it. That might be kind of really interesting. I appreciate you, Steve. Thanks for watching. Yeah, we're going to tail off soon here. 2 o'clock, we're going to put this thing to bed. So does anybody have any questions before we close out the live stream in about like 8 minutes? 2 o'clock, 2 p.m. Eastern. No, 1 o'clock. Sorry, my bad. 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let me know before I cut out. All right, so yeah, we've got a lot of cool things in this drawing. This is a great model, and I really enjoy drawing this model. Can see all of their muscles. It's so awesome. I'm going to probably work on this after class, and yeah, because it just is a fun little study. So remember, Michelangelo did the shading lines in all different directions. Now, let me just close with this. Again, what not to do. So if I'm going to draw this torso that you see here and the arm, what not to do is drawing the body like this. What is this? This is all concave, and there's no lines that are rolling in, and then I'm shading against the grain, against the direction of the arm. I'm kind of like cross hatching. This is stuff you don't want to do. I'm using like chicken scratch for the edge of the arms, and nothing is rolling in. So this is what you do not want to do. You don't want to have like a too simple of an edge. You really, with your figure drawings, want to make the edge as complicated as you can, if and only if this is the style that you like. Galen, could you explain how to render the shadow that extends from the ribcage to the lower pelvis on the female form? That extends from the ribcage. So the abs, so basically what these abs are over here is they're just two shallow cylinders. Time out. So basically, this is the navel, and you have that center line. You need that center line. It should roll into that navel. The navel is obviously not centered. I got that wrong. And then this is one side of the rectus abdominis, the abs, and that's curving, 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 going all the way right down to the privates here. And then you're also going to have lines that curve this way. You're going to have lines that curve around over here, folds of skin. This is the oblique. That's the hip. And then, yeah, that's going to curve down. I'm a little long with it. And this is the separation of the cylinder of the rectus abdominis that comes down and attaches above the pelvis. And then this is the oblique, that little teardrop shape. It's hard to see the oblique over here. That's the other oblique. So you're separating muscles. I'm doing this a little bit quickly here. So it's rectus abdominis, navel, central line. These are two cylinders side by side. Then you have your suit of armor, which is your external obliques that wrap around to protect your side and to help you bend. And so then you need, which I'm not seeing right now on the reference because it's covered. I should have zoomed out on my reference. And then you need to show this V shape down near the private. So that's how I would do it, Galen. I hope that makes sense. And all's the while, I'm going to primarily shade down the center. Yeah, this is shading down the center because the left side of the body has a light source. The right side of the body has a light source. So the light source that's coming from the right is hitting here. It's hitting the abs there. Oh, sorry. No, it's hitting the rib cage here. The rib cage is lower. I'm all screwed up. And it's hitting here. And then the other light source is hitting there. So it's hitting this cylinder that we call rectus abdominis. It's not that round like that. I'm just kind of exaggerating a little bit. Does that make sense? Okay. Listen, people, any other questions before we call this live stream done? I really thank you all for watching. And I think I'm going to put this one to bed right now. Yeah, let's do this. Let me close this out. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you all watching this. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot today that I really need to do some more of this complicated edge, and I tend to do like a lot of the short gesture drawing stuff. So it's nice to kind of slow down a little bit. Galen, listen, I'm looking at the photo reference right now, and it's complicated because this Graphit Studio, thank you, Leah, really likes to use two different light sources. So there's a lot of, you just have to ask yourself the question, what's the cool light? What's the warm light? And look at those two colored lights. Thank you, Paul. Art for Recovery Podcast. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate that. And just to show you what this looks like, this little drawing, it's cool. It just needs time. And the Michelangelo study, it's kind of cool. Yeah, very complicated. Very complicated. All right. Well, listen, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. And I look forward to seeing you next week in the live stream. Be sure to check out drawingtutorialsonline.com. Maybe consider a membership if you're looking for some one-to-one coaching, especially in August. August is a great month to do the coaching together before I head back to the School of Visual Arts in September. Take a peek at that, and make sure to like and subscribe. And maybe if you want to know and get notified ahead of time when we're going to go live next, click on the bell notification. And that's all I got for you, people. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rye. Appreciate you. And Sammy Tabby, thanks for the practice. I think I'll do this exercise more instead of stressing over the proportions of the entire body. Yeah, just isolate your practice. Like say, okay, today I'm just practicing like copying an old master's drawing. Today I'm just going to practice doing proportion stuff. So don't get stuck in one zone. All right. Thanks again, everyone. I'll talk to you next week, okay? Have a good week.